Do you know how Hunter got its name? The boat everybody loves to hate on, named after something sort of dangerous and predatory. But then they made it all fat and lazy. How about Catalina? It sounds like a dive bar on the A1A where you go for happy hour. Now, I bag on Hunter a little bit because of peer pressure, but actually I quite like Hunter. Basically, they found a way to cost effectively give you the most possible living accommodation in a sailboat for way less money than everybody else. In the 90s, when sailboats were going through that sugar scoop aft cabin renaissance, the likes of Beneteau and Jeanneau would hook you up with a new modern sailing boat for a big price. Hunter was like, no, we can do the same thing as these French people for half the price, and they gave us the cheap condo. Still an excellent boat if what you're after is a floating place to call home. Hunter Yachts is now owned by a conglomerate called Marlowe, and they call it Hunter Marlowe, but back in the day, when it was just Hunter Yachts, it was named by its enigmatic owner and founder, Warren Lurs. Way back in 1973, Warren was living in Florida and decided to start the company, and he needed a name. The Hunter name evokes an idea of sort of fast, capable sailing boats, and the term yacht itself originates from the Dutch word yacht, meaning hunt, according to Wikipedia anyway. These Dutch yachten were light, fast ships used for scouting ahead of larger fleets, and thus Hunter Yachts was born. Owners love coming up with cool names. Take Island Packet. Bob Johnson is basically a staple in the sailing world, having designed boats with lots of different companies, but when he founded his own company, he did it with a specific philosophy that to this day remains in every boat they build. Island Packet is one of those stubborn companies that found a recipe that they like and absolutely refuses to change it, but sort of in a good way. They're basically Jeep. They started with this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and now this. The same. Island Packet are heavy, long keel, sort of yellow boats that are built tough as nails, meant to make ocean miles, ride out massive storms, and never really get unstuck after they've been run aground because the keel's 18 inches wide and weighs 20,000 pounds. Ask me how I know. Bob Johnson's first boat was a modified 26-foot version of the Bombay Express that he called the Island Packet. It was just supposed to be the name of that boat, but here we are 46 years later and they're still cranking out rock-solid, capable sailing yachts meant to stand the test of time. I mean, now that they're using 316 stainless for the chain plates. Honorable mention here for Pearson yachts. Pearson was founded by Everett Pearson up in Rhode Island, so the name is obvious, but worth mentioning because Pearson is widely regarded as one of the founders of building boats out of fiberglass. Everett's mission resonates with me because he just wanted to get more people sailing, but in the late 50s and early 60s, sailing was a rich man's game. So you had to be rich and you had to be a man. But Pearson was like, no, these handcrafted wooden gentlemen's yachts are too expensive and normal people can't afford them. Luckily, a newfangled technology was just coming out, fiberglass. Pearson made quick work of making sailboats out of the new material, and it was so easy he could do it on the cheap. He flooded the market with his new poor man's sailing boat and changed the sailing game forever. A tip of the hat to Everett Pearson. Side note, back then we didn't really understand fiberglass, so we made everything way too thick and heavy. So a lot of these 1960s hulls are still alive today. They basically last forever because they're basically plastic. Beneteau, we mentioned them earlier. They weren't all that in a baguette back in the day, just another boat builder and named after their owner, Benjamin Beneteau. What this company did better than anybody else, however, was to think globally. Beneteau quietly and consistently built good boats for decades while paying into a future that would take them worldwide. First, they set up a network of dealers across Europe until finally opening up in Annapolis in 1976. The aim of Annapolis was to both establish the brand in North America, but also to be boots on the ground to understand what the American customer was looking for in a sailboat. They did that kind of research. Beneteau never let up on that global vision, later buying another small company called Jeanneau. another French company named after its founder, Henry Jeannot. They would also come to own the catamaran company called Lagoon. Lagoon was a struggling catamaran builder under Jeannot's umbrella, but decided that they wanted to establish themselves as a real brand. The first cat that they built was bought by a lady who named it the Lagoon. The company liked that name so much they wanted to use the brand, so they called the lady who owned the first boat. They ended up signing an agreement on the corner of a table in a restaurant, a contract on a napkin, to provide her royalties if they managed to sell any more boats at all under the Lagoon name. And luckily for Lagoon, they had the foresight to set a time limit of 10 years on that contract. The rest is history. Catalina. These folks have built a name for themselves as kind of the American Beneteau, a production boat like Beneteau for a long time. But since the 90s, they've started to go into their own direction. And that's one of giving you everything that the French boats do, but built a bit differently, with the customers involved. Basically, Catalina would make a new model based on information the customers who bought the last model would give them. A lot of quality of life improvements came from that philosophy, like little access doors to reach the dipsticks on the engine, easier sail plans and rigs, better beds and galleys and heads. Catalina is a company who takes continuous improvement very seriously. The boats are really well made, and it's no secret I'm a big fan. I'll try to talk them into letting me take a camera into their factory sometime soon. If you're in the market for a French boat because of how nice the accommodations are, I'd urge you to include the equivalent size Catalina on your shopping list because they give you almost as voluminous interiors on a better boat. Catalina's attention to detail and building boats that actually work in real life may make you buy one of theirs instead of anything else. The Catalina yacht's name was inspired by Frank Butler, the founder, and his fondness for California island names. He considered several, including Catalina, Coronado, and Capri, ultimately obviously choosing Catalina as it clicked with him, he says. On a side note, Frank also built boats called Coronado and Capri. And we should also mention O'Day. O'Day Yachts, funny name, makes basically the same boat as Catalina. Well, they used to. A well-rounded, easy-to-live-on cruising boat that's built very well and sails a bit ahead of middle of the pack. O'Day didn't have the success of Catalina, though. I always wish Catalina would have bought O'Day back in the day and become the Catalina group, like the Beneteau group is, but they didn't, and it is what it is. O'Day, if you can find one for sale, are excellent boats named after their founder, George Dyer O'Day. And what about Hobie? A lot of people call them Hobie, but they're wrong. It's definitely Hobie. They are famous for cats, but they also built some extremely fast monohulls. Everything they built was ridiculously fast. They were named after a surfer's nickname. Surfers always have the coolest nicknames. Hobart Alter. That's not a very cool name. He was the surfer, and after earning his surfer nickname, Hobie, he founded a sailboat company called Hobie. What a cool dude. Hallberg-Rassy yachts, basically the island packet of Europe, got their name from a merger between two Swedish boatyards. Harry Hallberg, who founded his shipyard in 1943, sold it to Christoph Rassy in 1972. Rassy, who had also been building boats, acquired the larger Hallberg yard and combined the two names to create the Hallberg-Rassy brand. These boats are very expensive and rightfully so. Basically, they're Mercedes-Benz of boats. They go to extremes in every way when they build something and are often the yardstick to which other boats are measured. If you want the S-class of sailboats, it'll be a Hallberg-Rassy, please. Last one for today because it's such a cool story. Columbia Yachts. This is a ways back and you may not have heard of them, but they did lead to one boat that you have for sure heard of. So they started with the Columbia 29. It was one boat made by a little company in 1962, and the company was called Glass Laminates. Not a very inventive name for a company who makes fiberglass products, but they would later change the name, Glass Laminates, to the name of that first boat, a Columbia, and go on to make a lot of boats with Sparkman and Stevens, which was the fuel that propelled them into notoriety. Sparkman and Stevens' name on anything was basically a meal ticket. In 1965, they introduced the Columbia 50, at the time the world's largest production sailboat. By the late 1960s, the company was the world's largest fiberglass sailboat manufacturer, with manufacturing plants all over the world. The company was then later sold to Hughes Boat Works in Canada, who continued making Sparkman and Stevens models, including the Sparkman and Stevens design Hughes 35 that we know today as Lady K, which is coincidentally for sale. I'm in the process of buying a bigger boat, and it's time to move forward. With a very heavy heart, I listed her for sale, 15,000 Canadian. She's near Windsor, Ontario, and listed online. I'll leave a link in the description if you happen to be interested. What cool boat stories do you have? Love to hear from you in the comments. And also, I'm looking for people who want to help with this channel. I'd love to have boat tour correspondents who I can pay to make boat tour videos for me all over the world. I can't be everywhere, and everybody wants to see more boats. If you have a camera and want to show off local boats and are talented and can speak on camera and knowledgeable enough to give a tour of a sailboat, send me a message. I'll leave a link for that in the description too. And if you like sailboats, give this video a thumbs up. The mission here at Lady K Sailing has always been to get more people sailing more easily, and I sure couldn't do it without your help. A huge shout out to the patrons who, for as little as a couple of bucks an episode, make this content possible. Thank you so very much. If you'd like to help support the mission, getting more people sailing more easily, please consider becoming a patron. Until next week, friends, keep the heavy side down, but not too far down. I love you guys.